I was the invisible one. The daughter who chose medical journals over country club brunches, research labs over charity galas. While my family paraded their wealth like peacocks, I wore scrubs and drove a 7-year-old Toyota Camry. They never understood me. But that was fine. I didn't need them to. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm a biomedical engineer. 3 years ago, I invented a cardiac monitoring device that revolutionized early detection of heart failure. The patent sold to a major medical corporation for $85 million. I was 32 years old. I told no one in my family. Growing up, I learned early that success made you a target in the Mitchell household. When I got accepted to MIT on a full scholarship, Dad spent the entire dinner explaining why those East Coast schools would poison my mind with liberal nonsense. When I published my first research paper at 25, Mom asked when I'd stop playing scientist and focus on finding a husband, like my older brother Derek's wife had done. They weren't bad people. They were just transactional. Every achievement had a price. Every success came with strings attached. Love was conditional on compliance, and I'd stopped complying years ago. After the patent sale, I made careful choices. I kept my job at the research hospital. I maintained my modest apartment in a quiet neighborhood. I donated 60% of my earnings to medical research foundations and free clinics. The rest I invested conservatively. My family saw a struggling researcher who couldn't afford their lifestyle. I saw freedom. For 3 years, it worked perfectly. Then came the phone call that changed everything. "Sarah, it's Mom." Her voice had that crisp, controlled tone she used when delivering non-negotiable demands. "We're having a family dinner this Christmas Eve. 6 o'clock. Your father and I expect you to be there. I actually have plans to volunteer at the. This is not optional." The ice in her voice could have frozen the phone line. "Derek has some important family matters to discuss. We need everyone present." Family matters. That phrase always meant trouble. I should have declined. I should have said I was working. I should have done literally anything except show up. But some naive part of me thought maybe, just maybe, this would be different. Maybe they wanted to actually connect. Maybe I was wrong about them. I was so devastatingly wrong. Christmas Eve arrived with the kind of cold that seeps into your bones. I drove across town to my parents' estate, a massive colonial revival house that Dad had purchased 5 years ago after his business took off. The circular driveway was full of expensive cars. Derek's Mercedes, Mom's Range Rover, Dad's Porsche. My Camry looked like the help's vehicle. I should have turned around right then. The house was decorated like a magazine spread. White lights, designer wreaths, a Christmas tree that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Everything was perfect. Everything was for show. Nothing was real. "Sarah, you actually came." Derek opened the door with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. My older brother had always been the golden child, handsome, charming, and completely amoral. He worked as an investment advisor at a prestigious firm downtown. His holiday sweater probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Mom said it was mandatory. I kept my coat on. Easier to leave quickly if needed. "Mandatory." He laughed. "That's Mom for you. Come on, everyone's in the dining room." The dining room table could seat 12. Tonight, there were only 5 place settings. Mom sat at one end in a designer dress, her hair perfectly styled. Dad sat at the other end, wearing his power suit even though it was a holiday. Derek's wife Jennifer was there, dripping in jewelry. And across from my empty seat sat a man I didn't recognize, mid-50s. Gray suit, wire-rimmed glasses, carrying a leather briefcase. "Sarah." Dad didn't stand. "This is Marcus Chen. He's a forensic accountant we've hired to help with some family financial planning." Every instinct I had screamed danger. Family financial planning on Christmas Eve? I stayed near the door. "Sit down, Sarah." Mom's voice could cut glass. "This involves you." I sat, but kept my purse on my lap. Ready to bolt. Dad cleared his throat, doing his courtroom voice. He'd been a lawyer before retiring 5 years ago to pursue investments. "Sarah, we need to discuss your finances." "My finances are none of your business." "They are when you're lying to this family." Derek leaned forward, his expression hardening. "We know you're hiding money, Sarah. We know you're not some struggling researcher barely making ends meet. My heart hammered, but I kept my face neutral. Years of hospital emergencies had taught me to stay calm under pressure. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. Jennifer spoke up, her voice sharp. You inherited $50,000 from Grandma Helen 2 years ago. That money should have been split among the whole family, but you kept it all. That was a lie. Grandma Helen's will specifically left that money to me because I was the only grandchild who visited her in the nursing home. But I didn't say that. And last year, Derek continued, you sold some kind of medical patent. We saw the filing. You made money off that, didn't you? Money you've been hiding while the rest of us struggle. Struggle. Derek drove a Mercedes and lived in a penthouse downtown. But sure, struggle. This family has supported you for years, Dad said. We paid for your education. I had a full scholarship. We gave you opportunities, connections. And now you're successful, you owe us. Family takes care of family, Sarah. There it was. The real reason for this meeting. They wanted money. I'm not hiding anything, I said carefully. I work at a research hospital. I live modestly. What you see is what there is. That's exactly what we thought you'd say. Mom smiled, but it was the smile of a shark. Which is why we hired Marcus. He's going to conduct a complete financial investigation. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry about. You hired an investigator to dig into my finances. I looked at each of them. This is insane. This is family accountability, Dad said. You've become secretive, distant. You're clearly hiding something. We deserve to know the truth. Marcus, the forensic accountant, opened his briefcase. He pulled out several folders. I've already completed my preliminary investigation, he said quietly. His voice was professional, detached. I have some findings to share. Excellent. Dad rubbed his hands together. Let's hear what our mysterious daughter has been hiding. This was it. They were going to expose everything. My patent, my donations, my investments. They'd know I had money, and they'd never leave me alone. They'd demand I pay for Derek's lifestyle, Dad's investments, Mom's charity events. I'd become the family ATM machine forever. I gripped my purse tighter, calculating how quickly I could get to the door. Marcus opened the first folder. Before I begin, I need to clarify something. He looked directly at me. Sarah, I was hired to investigate your finances. However, to do that properly, I needed to understand your family's financial context. I examined everyone's financial records. The room went very quiet. I'll start with Sarah, since that's what we're here for. He pulled out a document. Sarah Mitchell. Age 32. Employed at Metropolitan Research Hospital as a senior biomedical engineer. Salary, $98,000 per year. 3 years ago, she sold a patent for a cardiac monitoring device to Biomedtech Corporation for $85 million. Mom gasped. Derek's face went red. Dad's expression was pure greed. That money, Marcus continued calmly, was invested as follows: $20 million in a high-yield savings account, $15 million in diversified index funds, $51 million donated to various medical research foundations and free clinics over 3 years. Current net worth, approximately $34 million after taxes and expenditures. The silence was deafening. Then Dad laughed. $51 million in donations. Sarah, you donated our family's money to strangers. It wasn't family money, I said quietly. It was mine. This is exactly what we're talking about. Derek slammed his hand on the table. You're selfish. You have all this money and you're living like a pauper while Mom and Dad struggle with. Which brings me to my next findings, Marcus interrupted. He pulled out a second folder, much thicker than the first. Your father, Robert Mitchell. Dad's expression shifted from greed to concern in half a second. Robert Mitchell, age 61. Former attorney, now full-time investor. In 2020, Mr. Mitchell established an investment firm called Mitchell Capital Partners. He recruited investors through his legal contacts and church community, promising 12 to 15% annual returns. That's called being a good businessman, Dad said, but his voice had lost its confidence. That's called a Ponzi scheme, Marcus replied flatly. Mr. Mitchell hasn't made a legitimate investment in 3 years. He's been paying existing investors with new investor money. Total amount defrauded, $2.3 million. Number of victims, 47 individuals, including 3 elderly clients from his former law practice. Mom's face went white. Jennifer made a small choking sound. You hired me to do forensic accounting, Marcus continued. That's exactly what I did. I traced every transaction. I have documentation of false statements to investors, fabricated monthly reports, and money transfers that show the clear pattern of a Ponzi scheme. This is ridiculous. Dad stood up. You can't just accuse me of. I can and I am. Marcus pulled out more documents. I've already filed a report with the SEC and local police. But let me continue. Because your family's financial crimes don't stop there. My brain was reeling. Ponzi scheme? Dad was running a Ponzi scheme? Marcus opened a third folder. Patricia Mitchell, your mother. As president of the Helping Hearts Charity Foundation, Patricia has embezzled $320,000 over 4 years through fake vendor invoices, inflated expense reports, and direct transfers to personal accounts. That's insane. Mom shrieked. I would never. I have the bank records. Marcus's voice remained level. Every fake invoice, every fraudulent expense claim. The charity was supposed to help at-risk youth. Instead, it funded your lifestyle. Designer clothes, jewelry, spa treatments, all charged to the foundation's accounts. Mom's face went from white to red. How dare you investigate me? I'm not the one being investigated here. Everyone authorized me to examine family finances, Marcus said. You all signed the consent forms. I was thorough. Derek started to stand. Okay, I think we've heard enough. Derek Mitchell. Marcus opened a fourth folder. Investment advisor at Sterling Financial Group. Subject of 7 client complaints in the past 18 months for unauthorized trading, churning accounts to generate commissions, and recommending unsuitable high-risk investments to elderly clients. Total estimated client losses, $560,000. Sterling is currently conducting an internal investigation, which I've also reported to FINRA. Derek's face drained of color. You can't. I can and I did. Marcus pulled out more documents. Jennifer Mitchell, Derek's wife. I found evidence of money laundering through your interior design business. You've been accepting cash payments from your husband's clients and running them through fake design projects to clean the money. Tax fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. Jennifer started crying. Actual tears running down her face. Derek told me it was legal. The room erupted. Dad shouting about lawsuits. Mom crying about her reputation. Derek trying to explain away the complaints. Jennifer wailing that she didn't know. I sat frozen, watching my family implode in real time. Marcus closed his folders and looked at me. Sarah, you asked if your finances were any of their business. Legally, they're not. You're an independent adult with no financial obligations to these people. I recommend you leave now and have no further contact. I've copied all documentation to law enforcement. They'll be following up. You set us up. Dad pointed at me, his face purple with rage. You knew about this. You planned this whole thing. I didn't know anything, I said, and it was true. My voice came out surprisingly steady. You invited me here. You hired an investigator. You demanded to know about my finances. Marcus just did his job. Some job. Mom spat. You're going to ruin this family. No, Mom. You ruined yourselves. I stood up, my legs shaking but holding. Every single one of you committed crimes. Dad stole from people who trusted him. You embezzled from a charity meant to help kids. Derek destroyed his clients' retirement savings. And you all thought I was the problem because I wouldn't fund your criminal lifestyles. We're family, Derek shouted. You can't just abandon us. Family. I looked at each of them. You know what Grandma Helen told me before she died? She said, Sarah, don't confuse family with people who share your DNA. Real family doesn't steal from you. Real family doesn't lie to you. Real family doesn't try to exploit you. Your grandmother was a bitter old woman, Mom hissed. She was the only honest person in this family. I picked up my purse. Marcus, thank you for your thorough work. Please send my attorney's office copies of everything. You have an attorney? Dad's voice dripped with sarcasm. What do you need an attorney for? For situations exactly like this. I headed for the door. Goodbye. I won't be attending any more family gatherings. Don't call me. Don't email me. Don't show up at my apartment. We're done. You ungrateful little dad started toward me. I'd advise you to stay back, Mr. Mitchell, Marcus said calmly. Any physical contact at this point could be considered witness intimidation. I walked out. Behind me, the screaming continued. Accusations, blame shifting, desperate justifications. I got in my Camry and drove away from that house for the last time. 3 weeks later, I sat in a coffee shop near my apartment, reading the news on my tablet. Former attorney Robert Mitchell charged with operating 2.3M Ponzi scheme. The article detailed everything. Dad's arrest, the list of victims, the forensic accounting evidence. He was facing 6 to 8 years in federal prison. Mom's charity scandal broke 2 days later. Nonprofit president embezzled $320K meant for at-risk youth. She was looking at 4 years plus restitution. Derek lost his job immediately. The FINRA investigation expanded into a full criminal probe. Securities fraud charges were pending. He'd likely get 3 years and be permanently banned from the securities industry. Jennifer took a plea deal, testifying against Derek in exchange for probation and community service. The family house went into foreclosure. The cars were seized. The designer clothes, the jewelry, the carefully constructed image, all of it gone. My phone rang constantly at first. Dad calling from jail, demanding I pay his legal fees. Mom leaving tearful voicemails about how I destroyed the family. Derek sending threatening texts about how this was all my fault. I blocked every number. Changed my locks. Increased security at my apartment building. Then, on a random Thursday afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Sarah? This is Margaret Chen, Marcus's wife. Her voice was kind. I hope you don't mind me calling. Marcus gave me your number. He wanted me to check on you. I'm okay, I said, surprised. How is Marcus? Dealing with the fallout, but he's fine. He wanted you to know something. He said your family hired him expecting him to find dirt on you. They thought for sure you were hiding illegal money or tax fraud or something that would give them leverage. And instead he found their crimes. Exactly. Sarah, he said in his 20 years of forensic accounting, he's never seen a case quite like this. You were the only family member doing everything legally and ethically. The only one living within your means. The only one being honest. My throat tightened. I just didn't want to be like them. You succeeded. Marcus also wanted me to tell you he grew up in a toxic family too. He got out at 18 and never looked back. He's been no contact for 30 years. He said it gets easier. Does it? I asked quietly. It does. The first year is hard. But then you realize how much lighter you feel. How much energy you have when you're not managing their drama. How good it feels to build a life with people who actually care about you. We talked for another 20 minutes. She invited me to a support group for people who'd gone no contact with toxic families. I promised to think about it. That night, I walked to my favorite Vietnamese restaurant 3 blocks from my apartment. I ordered pho and sat by the window, watching people pass by. No one here knew about the drama. No one here cared about my family's crimes or my patent money or any of it. A woman at the next table was celebrating her daughter's acceptance to medical school. They were laughing, taking pictures, genuinely happy for each other. That's what family should be, I thought. Support, joy. Celebration without strings attached. My phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Rodriguez, my mentor at the hospital. New cardiac study funding approved. They want you to lead the research team. Dinner tomorrow to celebrate? I smiled and typed back. Absolutely. Thank you. 6 months later, I stood in front of a new building in an underserved neighborhood. The sign read, Helen Mitchell Free Health Clinic, opening soon. Grandma Helen would have loved this. A place where people could get cardiac screenings, preventive care, and early intervention regardless of their ability to pay. I'd used a chunk of my patent money to fund it fully for the first 5 years. Dr. Rodriguez stood beside me. You know, when you first proposed this, I thought you were too young to take on something this big. And now I think your grandmother raised you right. She smiled. The kind of person who names a clinic after their grandmother instead of themselves. That's someone who understands what really matters. She was the only one who did. I looked at the building, thinking of all the lives it would change. She used to say, "Sarah, real wealth isn't in your bank account. It's in the good you do when nobody's watching." Wise woman. The wisest. My phone buzzed. Another blocked number. I'd gotten calls occasionally from people in my family's orbit. Distant cousins asking why I didn't help with legal fees. Family friends suggesting I was being selfish. Well-meaning church members explaining that family is forever. I deleted the voicemail without listening. Some people can't understand why you'd walk away from family. They say, things like blood is thicker than water or family is everything or you'll regret this someday. But the full quote is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The relationships you choose, built on mutual respect and genuine care, matter more than biological connections built on obligation and manipulation. I don't regret my decision. Not even a little. Yes, sometimes I feel sad. Sad that I never had the family I deserved. Sad that they chose greed and crime over honesty and connection. Sad that things had to end so dramatically. But I'm not sad that I left. I'm relieved. Last week, I met Dr. Rodriguez's family at a barbecue. Her kids, her husband, her parents. They argued about sports, laughed at bad jokes, and genuinely enjoyed each other's company. No hidden agendas. No transactional relationships. Just people who loved each other. "You're so quiet," Dr. Rodriguez's mother said to me. "Everything okay?" "Just thinking," I said. "Your family is wonderful." She patted my hand. "You're welcome here anytime, dear. Family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up, and they did show up. When I worked late, Dr. Rodriguez brought me dinner. When I stressed about the clinic opening, her husband helped me navigate the permit process. When I felt overwhelmed, they invited me over just to hang out. That's what I'd been missing my whole life. People who gave without expecting payback. People who celebrated my success without jealousy. People who supported me without strings attached. I built a new family. Not through biology, but through choice. Through respect. Through genuine care. 2 years after that Christmas Eve dinner, I received a letter from Dad's prison. I almost threw it away without reading. But curiosity got the better of me. The letter was short. "Sarah, I've had a lot of time to think. You were right about everything. I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. Dad." I read it 3 times. Looked for the manipulation, the hidden ask, the angle. There wasn't one. Just a simple apology. I wrote back once, "I appreciate the apology. I hope you find peace. But I'm not reopening this door. Take care of yourself." That was it. Clean. Final. Done. Some people might think I'm cold. That I should have forgiven him, visited him, rebuilt the relationship, but forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. I can acknowledge his apology and still maintain my boundaries. I can hope he becomes a better person and still keep him out of my life. Because here's what I learned. You can't fix people who don't want to be fixed. You can't love them into changing. You can't sacrifice your peace for their comfort. All you can do is save yourself and build something better. The clinic opens next month. I'm terrified and excited. This will help thousands of people over the years. People who need care but can't afford it. People like Grandma Helen, who struggled to get her heart condition treated because she couldn't pay. This is my legacy. Not my family name. Not their crimes. Not their dysfunction. This is what I choose to build with the life I've been given. And you know what? I sleep perfectly at night. Because I'm not the family disappointment. I never was. I was just the only one brave enough to walk away.